then, now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I may be potentially out of the loop on this one. I don't know. But out of nowhere, on a night where there was, it's the night before the draft, you had a pretty significant trade in the Eastern Conference. On a night kind of out of nowhere, with other news going on, Woj just dropped say, hey, Houston is interested in Kevin Durant. Windhorse fingers on that one. Now, why would he do that? Why on earth would the night before the draft, just out of nowhere, Woj, who obviously is fed information from somewhere, is like, well, the Houston Rockets have interest in Kevin Durant. And it's like, Kevin Durant is not available last time I checked. The Phoenix Suns just fired their head coach and just hired arguably the best available coach on the market in Budenholzer, a guy who's got a championship ring. How did this news come to be? Is there potential unhappiness going on in Phoenix? Does Houston have anything that Phoenix would covet for them to move on from Kevin Durant? Because, as far as I'm concerned, the Phoenix Suns have made their bed, right? Phoenix Suns have made their bed. Like, we have got 2 max contracts. We got Devin Booker. We got Bradley Beal. We got Kevin Durant. We just fired our coach. We got Budenholzer coming in. What, $10 million per? They're paying Budenholzer to come in? So you got a coach coming in at $10 million per? How does this Kevin Durant rumor just get slipped out there? They go, the Rockets have interest. Yeah, no crud, as we used to say. No crud. I would imagine there are 25 teams in the NBA that would have interest in Kevin Durant
I'll say
at this particular time.
Very much like you and Fentress were discussing on Monday, Justin. It's kind of like it's kind of like middle school. That's great. I have interest in said girl.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Carry on. Like I see what you like. Don't get me wrong. Huge seismic waves. Totally agree. But I'm like, yeah, I would be absolutely shocked if Phoenix moves off of KD right now.
Let's stick with this analogy, though. Much like in middle school. If you're the Houston Rockets and you just throw out, right, hey, yeah, boy, I really have interest in Kevin Durant. It's like, yeah, Kevin Durant's got a significant other. Why, you know better than to just throw that out there? Unless you've heard some things, unless you think some things, unless, for whatever reason, you think you can get, the ball rolling. Is Kevin Durant already unhappy? Because remember, the reason why we study history, every history teacher in 8th grade probably told all of you this, right? Why? At some point in 8th grade, usually it's about the time, you say, why do we have to know all this stuff? It's already happened. Well, every history teacher loves that moment, right? They love the moment because then they get to drop the only way to predict the future is to know the past. The only way to better the future is to learn from the past. Well, let's take a look in the past. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Kevin Durant ask for Steve Nash to be fired and then request a trade anyways? When he was in Brooklyn?
That is what happened.
Didn't that happen? So, on the surface, in a bubble, in a vacuum, it's like, why would Phoenix be looking to trade away Kevin Durant, who they gave up 4 first-rounders for?
5.
Excuse me, 5? They gave up 5 first-rounders for. They have put themselves in luxury tax heck in the second apron. They can't sign anybody with exemptions or anything because they're paying the top 3 guys on their team 80% of their team's salary. They just fired their coach to hire a coach at $10 million per. They're locked in. They're not going anywhere. Yeah, but you look back at Brooklyn. Kevin Durant has proven As J.J. Redick said at his introductory press conference, I don't give a bleep. Hey, Kev, yeah, we got a lot of money tied up in you. We just fired this coach. Whether you asked, you kind of insinuated you didn't like this coach. We brought in a guy that we think you're really going to love. Yeah, I don't give a bleep. I'm going to check out my options. Let's live in this hypothetical real quick, where let's say Houston throws a handful of firsts out there and Phoenix can get kind of their future back because Phoenix mortgaged the future on the now, which is kind of what the New York Knicks are doing. It could work. It could fall flat on their face. Who knows? Respect the aggression from the Knicks. But you mortgage the future for the now. And if you are Phoenix, is there, like, I look at it like, when you get on the DraftKings app and you're like, you're second guessing your bet. You're like, I could hit the cash out right now. I could hit the cash out right now, and I could only lose $8. I could only lose $8, and I could get something a little bit back. Is that where the Phoenix Suns are at with Kevin Durant? Maybe. Are the Phoenix Suns maybe in the? I mean, we're not going to get everything back, but we can get something back.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So why does the news get leaked?
I think it just puts pressure on Phoenix to make moves this year. Durant was the
one.
So
you think I think this comes directly from Kevin Durant?
I don't
or
disagree.
Who's his guy? He's
not a Rich Paul.
He's not a Rich Paul guy. He's got the lone wolf guy. I think he's only a Kevin
Rich
Durant.
Kleiman. Yeah.
I knew it was a Rich though. Boy, it's
like the only other agent in the NBA. There's like him, Rich Paul.
Two guys named Rich. Of course.
Right?
Of course the NBA. In a league where everybody is getting rich, the two top agents are named Rich. But I just wonder, how does Houston get? Because remember, it was Houston and James Harden. Remember, they thought, Houston, like James Harden, does he want to get back to Houston now?
And that was out there for a minute.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe it's just, it's appealing. I'm sure that.
So is Houston just a big old flirt?
Well, Kevin Durant might, the other thing we haven't talked about, Kevin Durant might like Ime Udoka, right? I mean, that's a coach that kind of has a pull about him in the league a little bit. I mean, they've won more, but this to me screams, Justin. It screams, hey, Phoenix, remember, I'm not your depreciating junk bond. Build a team around me that's better than Booker, Beal, and Nurk.
Because I don't know if you heard, Houston really kind of likes me.
So that's what I think. Because but who knows, right? The NBA,
this league is so nuts. This league is so nuts.
I didn't expect to see Bridges move for 5 first-rounders yesterday. I knew there was a possibility he'd get traded for 3, for 4, but 5. Whew.
And
if you're a Brooklyn fan, you got to feel pretty good about resetting this morning.
Because it's interesting because we'll see what happens. Yeah, Brooklyn's got to be in a good spot, right? They're going to be able to absolutely rebuild now and
tank.
They have finally erased the past of we're going to go for it with these big three. And it's weird that Mikal Bridges was the one guy because he was the one guy that showed up and played for Brooklyn outside because the big three when they went all in and then the Ben Simmons debacle and it was like, who's good on Brooklyn?
Oh, yeah, he's still there, isn't he?
Yeah, Ben Simmons still Brooklyn.
Oh, that's right. He's still making max money there. So
still making a lot of money, but they got a lot of picks now, and they can bring in a lot of young kids. And
how long will the what if get them, Justin, with that big toe? How long or are they already past that at this point? If you're
the fact that they just traded away now their best player for 5 first-rounders, I think they're physically moving past it. I don't know if emotionally, but here's the other thing that the Brooklyn Nets have. Are there really Nets fans?
I don't know. I've never met one.
I've never met one either. Or are they Knicks fans who would live in Brooklyn?
Might have to, you got family up in the New York area, Justin.
I
do. A good friend of the program, Steve Tannen's from that area.
Yeah.
We should ask him if he knows any Nets fans next time we have him on the show.
Steve is from New Jersey.
Yeah, and is a Knicks fan.
And is a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Because
so
everybody
right?
in the tri-state area is a Knicks fan. I don't know if there's an actual Brooklyn Nets fan. So them as an organization. Meanwhile, the New York Knicks are going for it. And
big time.
Interesting that they would choose to go for it now with the Boston Celtics seemingly, I don't want to say unbeatable, but Air wagon. So lots and lots of NBA stuff to dive into on the big show. Also, we have one of the biggest whoppers of a lie that I've heard a major college coach say ever. We'll play that coming up in a bit. We have got the top 25 toughest places to play on a video game, which apparently, according to my algorithm, is a very, very big deal. And, of course, ho-hum NBA draft tonight. Blazers sitting at 7-14. So we are locked and loaded here on a Wednesday. More Rip City Morning coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. You follow sports enough, especially college sports, the way that we do on this show. You realize that sometimes coaches are put into a tough spot. I am fully on board with, hey, you get one ride on this roller coaster. That is life, career, whatever you need to do, and whatever job you take, that's up to you and your family. And you don't owe, as a high level coach, if your services are coveted, as a high level coach, who am I to say you can't do this, you can't do that? You don't owe it to anybody. I'm an Oregon football fan. Chip Kelly, Willie Taggart, Mario Cristobal all used Oregon as a stepping stone to get to the NFL, Florida State, and Miami. They all subsequently have failed, but neither here nor there. But as a fan, you can't be too selfish about it. You can't be like, well, you owe it to. It's like, no, you don't owe it to anybody. But I do think if you are going to be a coach and you are going to give lectures and meetings and speeches about accountability and everybody has to be accountable for one another. We've all heard these speeches, and we hear them all the time when teams win. But you're in a tough spot, I can understand, where maybe there's another job you want, maybe there's another opening you want. And the rumors start swirling. Word gets out. How do you deal with it? Well, we now have a test case on what not to do. And thanks to Jim Schlossnagle, he just coached Texas A&M to the College World Series Championship Series. He was in the finals of the College World Series. As close as you took them all the way to Game 3, lost by 1 run. By the way, when I was watching that game, that little zigzag R2 hezzy move that the Tennessee guy put on the catcher for Texas A&M turned out to be the national championship winning run. How nuts is that? But I'm watching that, and 1 run away Texas A&M was. Boy, what a season. What a season. And then after the game, obviously you have post-game obligations, and apparently, and because I don't follow Texas A&M or SEC baseball all that closely, apparently the Texas job, which is, Brenden, you're a college baseball fan.
Top 5 job, no
Top
questions.
5 job in all of college baseball. Outside, I would put LSU as the best job in baseball. After that, I think you could put Florida. After that, Tennessee might be. Tennessee might be now.
But no history.
That's some.
No history.
No history.
See, North Carolina, very big job too. Obviously, Oregon State's a huge job.
Oregon State is a big job. I mean, I do agree. I think it's the best college baseball job on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So you got Oregon State.
It's kind of cool to say.
But it is. I'm old school, so I still look at Tulane and Vanderbilt and Rice and those jobs and Mississippi State. But yeah, Texas is
it's huge.
The way that Texas has built their athletic department, almost every sport, that's a top 10 job.
Yeah, there's no bad Texas teams.
Or bad Texas jobs to take. It's like, oh, don't take that Texas basketball. You're like, yeah, you do it right, you'll win. Texas swimming and diving, you're gonna
But yeah, this
just
wasn't
fine.
about money, Justin. I really don't think it was about money significantly. Just going to the bigger and better and badder program.
So we'll dive into that here in just a moment, because I'm fascinated by that. But Jim Schlossnagle, so this is a post-game press conference. Texas's job is open. He is the current head coach of Texas A&M. Now you might be thinking, Justin, that game was Monday, right? I'm like, yeah, that game was Monday. And asked by a reporter, I think a fair question. And we got the biggest, in recent memory, example of what not to do. Here is Jim Schlossnagle. This is Monday night.
Coach, with respect to the difficult outcome tonight, but with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to
Is
be
it,
honest with you.
Coach? Is it?
But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question. But I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it.
Well, it sounds like Coach is saying at Texas A&M. He was just in the finals. I don't intend to take what I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job. Tuesday night. James Schlossnagle was the head coach at the University of Texas. What? Oh, but so the reporter was selfish for asking a question. What is it to coach a team in the national title game and then 24 hours later be the coach of a rival team in the same conference, in the same state? There's a word that is that that's also pretty selfish. That's right. Save me your lectures. And see, this is why I get a little bit frustrated. I don't blame this guy for taking the job at Texas. You do you. You're a coveted baseball coach. You want to coach at the highest level? Go for it. No problems. Save me that's a pretty selfish question to ask. Really? Because the only selfish person I see in the room is you. You want to go coach at Texas? That's fine. You also want to do hey, I don't feel like it's appropriate to have those discussions right now. We just lost a heartbreaker. That's boom. You've answered the question. They've asked the question. You haven't put yourself in a terrible pickle where you look like a big dumb doofus because you've already accepted the Texas job. They know that.
Just to show what Texas
What a doofus.
Yeah, what Texas's expectations are, Justin, is like, just we talked about Oregon State a few minutes ago, and it's like, that's where this year, and not like Oregon State's going to make a move, but like going into this next year, the pressure is even more dialed up on Mitch Canham to make Omaha because Oregon State hasn't been since 2018. Texas just fired David Pierce to bring in Schlossnagle.
Mm-hmm.
David Pierce, Justin, since 2018, 3 College World Series appearances for Texas and fired. So,
I get. Here's the deal. I get it. This is not. What a crazy. No, I get it. Texas in baseball is a coveted job. It's like. That's why you can't fault Kalen DeBoer for taking the Alabama job.
Right. Same
thing.
Can't
fault him for taking the Alabama job. Now, would it probably be better for him to have stayed at Washington going into the Big Ten and what he's built? Maybe, but I'm sure at his in his heart of hearts probably sat there by himself or talking to his wife going like, am I going to say no to Alabama? No, you can't do that. Just like this guy is like, am I going to say no to Texas? Never mind that I'm in the SEC. I'm funded by Texas A&M. We just made the national championship series, and anything that I can win at Texas, I could clearly win at Texas A&M. But maybe, again, he talked about I left my family because he was the coach at Tennessee before, correct?
Schlossnagle?
Yeah.
At TCU.
At TCU.
For like 17 years. He'd been there a long time.
Because the guy at Tennessee was also at TCU with this guy. I knew they coached together. It was a whole the student has become the teacher thing. That really crazy guy with the beard at Tennessee who really...
Yeah, they were at TCU together for a couple of years, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. But Schlossnagle been there for like 19
So
years.
he was at TCU.
To A&M.
Took the job at A&M, took that SEC money. Don't fault him there. And then, you want to take the job at Texas? Fine. Take the job at Texas. Now, I realize Texas geography is a little bit different than, say, Oregon geography. It is interesting to be like, I left my family. It's like, in Dallas?
I'll tell you, man.
But College Station's far away.
No.
College Station, I think, is...
West, yeah. No disrespect to any of those teams.
Is College Station west or east?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's west.
I thought College Station was towards Louisiana.
Either way, I'll tell you this and I think you've been as
But
well.
it's like, I left my family. Like, your family's in Dallas.
Yeah,
Right in the middle.
Yeah, I think you'll say this too, Justin, is oh yeah, so it's in between Houston and Dallas. So it's really not that far from Austin.
Well, he left his family.
But I'll say this, like, Austin's the best place to be in Texas. So it's
Well, listen, like I said, I
awesome.
don't have a problem. You want to leave Texas A&M, you feel like you have a chance to do something better at Texas, even though you were just in the national title game. That's fine. That's not what we're talking about
that
here.
part of it is crazy.
It's you're going to really sit there and call somebody selfish when you are doing the most like, how do your players feel about your selflessness at this particular? It was 24 hours. It wasn't like I'm really toiling with this. Boy, this is one of the toughest decisions that decision was done. Nothing was signed, but clearly Texas was waiting like the parade in Tennessee hasn't even started yet, and you're already gone.
To me, it's
just such a lesson to all these coaches. How hard is it? I don't understand it. I don't. Certain things in this world I don't agree with, but I understand. This I don't. How hard you knew you were getting the question going in? How hard is it to just be like, yeah, we don't need. I have no comment. I have no comment on that right now.
Right.
We just lost. This is a tough loss. My head isn't there. My head is with my players right now.
Even
how hard is that? But instead, you have to get on your bully pulpit and wag your finger, figuratively, and give that was selfish question. Now, pardon me while I do one of the most selfish things a coach can do, which is to take a better job and leave these players high and dry.
Yeah, all the above.
What a clown. An absolute clown.
It was very surprising to me. And Justin, you mentioned it right off the top. I mean, sometimes, and this is, I'm just saying what I would do. Sometimes, Justin, this, reporters sometimes have coaches' phone numbers, right? It would not be unreasonable to think that one of those media members, maybe even that media member that asked that question, may have Jim Schlossnagel's phone number, right? If I was that guy and he had called me out like that, when I saw the news, I would have sent a text, been like, so who's selfish now?
I would have been like, hey, congratulations, coach.
Or that too. Yeah, like just
needle.
Right.
Hey,
but like, I would have absolutely said something. Been like, you just called me out in public, and my voice has now been circulated through the internet on this clip. Like, his voice getting played on Rip City Mornings now.
By the way, what a spot to be in, though, because that guy looks, I don't know. I'm assuming, okay, here's what I'm assuming. I don't know, but when the reporter said, what do you have to say about your future in Aggie land? I'm assuming this is like you have a Beaver's Edge. This is a Texas A&M.
Very well could be.
Kind of, that's not a put down. It is but it just sounded like, I don't think like the Dallas Morning News would be like, what do you say about your future in Aggie land? Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
But.
Hey, what about your future in Austin?
Yeah, but it's just like, again, Mario Cristobal left Oregon for Miami. And was in and we will all have memories of that terrible, terrible, terrible press conference, the Zoom press conference of Mario Cristobal and Bob Stoops, because Lincoln Riley had already left Oklahoma.
Mario's in the airport.
And Mario's in the airport, clearly getting on a private jet to go to Miami to sign his contract. And is like, I'm really excited to be in the Alamo Bowl. And Bob Stoops is just taken, because Bob Stoops knows what's up. Bob Stoops knows how the game is. And I also understand, like, Willie Taggart got into a spot where his dream job opened up. They wanted him. And the news got out. I don't know if the answer to, are you going to be the coach of the Oregon Ducks next year, is why wouldn't I be?
Maybe the greatest answer.
But I think this one might trump it, though. Right? This one of like, that's a selfish question. No, pardon me while I go be selfish.
Yeah, no, it's up there.
This one might be worse.
Yeah, I mean, but is that worse than Jonathan Smith? No decisions have been made. Bluntly to everybody.
On a private jet the next day.
Like,
or 2 days
No,
later.
it was
I
the
think.
next morning. It was.
They didn't even have Thanksgiving dinner?
It was the day after.
Oh, day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
He didn't have Thanksgiving leftovers then. Left him in the fridge, probably.
He was
Well,
gone.
and he had that Michigan State scarf on real fast.
Right. So
you know?
So I don't know.
I know there's no. Here's the thing. There are no good answers here. Nobody has the perfect answer. But you know what there are? There's better answers. It's a simple, but no, you're a coach that's used to controlling everything. And you love to lecture and talk down to anybody and everybody because everybody around you caters to you because you're the coach. There's a better answer. Like, and the fact that it was 24 hours later. That's what is like the cherry on top. Because again, I don't mind that, and again, I have no dog in the Jonathan Smith fight, right? I don't mind that he lied. I don't even mind that Willie Taggart lied. It's not ideal. No comment can go a long ways, or that's a situation that we're not going to talk about right now. That's between me and my family and my team. Like, there's all sorts of non-answer answers, you know what I mean? The part of this, which is why we have done now 15 minutes of this, the day of the NBA draft, is what a selfish question to ask. And it's like, you don't need to deflect. You don't need to try to put somebody else down. You don't need to try to belittle someone because you think you're better than them. There's no good answer, but there's a better answer. And it's like, you want to be selfish and go take a job that you feel is better for you, your family, your career. Good. Go for it. Take that job. Don't get mad when somebody, and by the way, do we know how much this guy was making at Texas A&M? Can we find out? I'm sure it's not insignificant amount of money. And you might be like, Justin, what does money have to do with? Well, money's got a lot to do with it because when you get compensated.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, how much was he making at Texas A&M?
1.35 base salary, and then let's see what his buyout. There is a buyout. Buyout is going to be about the same. If he leave, this is even better. The Texas A&M contract stipulated if he left the Aggies for another in-state program.
Yeah, because they knew he would.
Double.
So,
$3 million, which is really nothing for buyouts for baseball.
For Texas, that's a paperclip budget.
Totally.
In the athletic department. But here's my point, though. He's making $1.3 million, right? I'm assuming per year. I'm assuming also his contract probably has him making a couple extra $100,000 making Omaha, making the finals, right?
Perks.
I'm sure he's probably making $1.5 million. Guess what? You make $1.5 million. Guess what part of your job is? Dealing with annoying questions. You got to deal with them. Now, you don't owe anybody an answer, but sit there and lecture and to sit there and be like, what a selfish question. Dude, you took that job a day later. All right. Coming up next, EA Sports, college football. Brendan's excited about it. He's pumped up about it. And we are getting rankings now. Not player rankings like they do in Madden, but we have now got road rankings. We have got a top 10. We have got a top 25. I'm trying to figure out how the number one toughest place to play in college football 25 got to be there. We'll debate and discuss on campus next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 66 days, count them, 66 days from college football kickoff in 2024. But we are, 3 weeks away now? I think 3 weeks away from college football 25. The video game that apparently has got everybody all up in a buzz about coming out. And so we're going to have, I'm going to lose Brenden for like a good 2 weeks. He's going to go into his cave. He's going to be playing college football 25. He's going to be in 5 different dynasty modes. But it's been a kind of a fun look back at some of the covers and also now kind of looking ahead. Turns out only Arch Manning, only opt-out, it sounds like. There's no other significant opt-out.
Congratulations, Arch. Hope it was cool for you.
What a Manning's boy. I like him, but every once in a while they do stuff where you just slap your forehead. Just like, really?
I think they were trying to like start a movement, and they're like, no, guys.
Yeah, it was
we
like,
want
no,
the
I'm
game
gonna
back.
I'm gonna take my free $600. Because if not, like, could you imagine Dylan Gabriel just like, nope, I'm also opting out. It's like, yeah, okay, well, we make QB 8.
Yeah.
And he looks just like you with your tattoos and everything. Good luck, though. Or we won't just have you in the game. And guess what? Everybody's going to keep playing it anyways. Anywho, they are releasing rankings. The rankings of toughest places to play. I think full-on team rankings, much like the Madden rankings, but not obviously every player in college football. So, with that, let's take a look at the toughest places to play in college football 25 from EA Sports. What did they get right? What did they get wrong? Let's go on campus. All right. Now, I am assuming when I see this list, all except for one school on here, I am assuming that when they say top 10 toughest places to play, that there is a factor of both A, stadium atmosphere, home field advantage, and what I believe is the biggest home field advantage, the talent level of the team you are playing. That being said, you could have given me 15 guesses as to who's going to be number one on this list, and it would have taken me longer to get to Kyle Field at Texas A&M. They've got Kyle Field at Texas A&M. Now, I've never been to Kyle Field.
We're talking a lot about the Aggies this morning.
Really, a lot of Texas fighting Texas Aggies.
Yeah.
Woo! Let's do it. That's what they do. They do the woo.
It's a bit
Fighting
surprising.
Texas Aggies. Woo! Anyways, YouTube just got a show because I did the whole thing. How's Kyle Field number one on this list? Because I think Georgia or Ohio State or Michigan might have the best team in college football, if not Oregon. LSU, from everybody that talks about college football, says LSU is the toughest place to play. Go to Tiger Stadium. Night game, day game, doesn't matter. Night game especially, but LSU, those Cajuns are boozed up and they are intimidating. And then LSU comes in at number 3. Alabama comes in at number 2. Now, again, I've not been to Bryant-Denny Stadium. From what I heard, Bryant-Denny Stadium, not really an intimidating atmosphere.
It's just massive.
Well, they're all massive down there. You're right. But yes, it's like 90-some thousand people. But it's not an intimidating atmosphere. What it is just that Nick Saban has the best team. Like I said, that's the best home field advantage. It doesn't matter how loud the stadium is. What matters is how good the team is you're playing. So, okay, put Alabama in there.
So I'll say this.
LSU 3, no problem. Horseshoe 5. I said I would have put Georgia at number 1, even though, again, Georgia doesn't have the most intimidating stadium, but they got the best players.
Right. I would say
I'd put them at number 1.
Yeah, like I said, based on what I know now, like with how intimidating Texas A&M fans made Oregon feel when they play, like when I saw their baseball fans doing what they did.
Mm-hmm.
You think about it, if they've probably got some quirky things for football too. Maybe not bubbles.
It's not even. They do some weird stuff. They are the weirdest of all the weird.
So that's where I wonder if it's just so much of like a a hodgepodge of like things that could throw you off your rhythm. Maybe that's why.
I don't know. It's just because Texas A&M's not going to be very good, right? They were what?
First year of the new head coach. So
Yeah, Jimbo just got fired. You had what, 7 wins last year?
something like that.
That's fine. But that's not Georgia or Ohio State or Alabama or any of those places.
Hey,
Beaver Stadium, I'll give you that one. That's Penn State. Penn State night game. I think Penn State's going to be pretty good. I'm surprised that Camp Randall got in at 7. By the way, Camp Randall, Oregon goes to Camp Randall this year. That's on the list of – I'm not going this year, unfortunately, but that's on the list of stadiums I definitely want to go to. Doak Campbell Stadium, I guess maybe they think Florida State's going to be good. And you've got the Swamp, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. That comes in at number 10, the Swamp in Florida. Florida not going to be very good, but like LSU, the Swamp in Florida has a reputation. Like, it is incredibly, incredibly loud. So you might be thinking, Justin, where's Autzen Stadium on this list? Just outside of the top 10, sitting at number 11. I think it should be higher, but I'm biased. If you are combining how good Oregon is going to be and how tough of a place that Autzen is going to be to go in and get a win this year, I think I would put it higher. But nonetheless, sitting there at number 11. Surprise, surprise, no Husky Stadium on the list. That one surprised me the most. Not in the top 25. So on the West Coast, Oregon is at 11. Utah is at 18. And Boise State, Albertson Stadium, number 24. Brenden, you've been to Albertson Stadium as a visiting fan. How was that? Was it Albertson Stadium back then?
No, I think it was. Don't know what it was actually.
But the blue turf at Boise comes in at number 4. Those are your only West Coast stadiums.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this. This was really fun, Justin, because like in like the dynasty modes in the game, like say you were Oregon State and you had not lost at Reser in 5 years. These rankings would change as time went on. So like I remember back then you could even get Reser into the top 10. All you had to do just win a bunch of. So you could really do it anywhere, which is kind of fun. But no, yeah, to your point, Albertson Stadium was not a fun place for a kid to go. It was a lot of raucous Boise State fans. But
where do you think year in and year out is the truly toughest place to play in college football if you factor in fans, size, atmosphere, quality of team? Because Nebraska's Memorial Stadium, I think it's Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. Everybody says like that one is an unbelievable atmosphere. It sells out. Yeah, but Nebraska has stunk. It's LSU, isn't it?
I would go LSU. That's what I said yesterday before this, and I still stand by it. I think that's one of the hardest. Do they still walk? As far as I know, anyway. At least that's the legend of the. I think it was 03 or 04 Oregon State team that almost went into LSU and won.
I remember
and
that.
Beat that Jamarcus Russell.
Lexus Cerna.
Too many missed extra points. But be that as it may, the rumor was.
Was it Cerna or was it Seska?
No, it was Cerna. It was Lexus Cerna. Who was
Seska? He was
year after? 2 cycles before for kickers. Fiesta Bowl kicker.
Got
Seska.
it.
But yeah, Justin, I think they still do this. Back then, I remember the Oregon State team was shocked because they took them the long way to the field and left him next to the Tiger because they had
Mike the Tiger, the actual real live Tiger.
And I remember Beaver, that was a legend. Is Beavers were they got left in the hallway right next to the live Tiger for 10 minutes or whatever it was.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty intimidating.
That is kind of awesome. She's hey, don't worry about it. We're gonna play a game, but don't just chill out. If that Tiger starts roaring, don't worry about it.
Yeah, just
don't worry about it.
Crazy.
If he gets old fussy over there, we're gonna worry about it. After LSU, I mean.
But Oregon belongs in the top 10. Is
I think so. I think
I'd push out Boise. No offense.
Well, Boise's in the top 25.
Yes,
But in the top 10, I would push out.
I push out Wisconsin. They don't have it for me.
I think I'm pushing out A&M. I may.
I'd push out the number one.
I would. I'm going to push out Florida State. I think.
Okay, that's
Austin's
fair.
a tougher place to go in and get a win. I think than Florida State.
Even with the chomp or the
chomp was
tomahawk
awesome,
chop.
but that's all they got.
Yeah.
The chomp is the Gator chomp. They've got that's in Gainesville. That's up or over because Tallahassee's in the Panhandle. All right, we have got hour 2 though. That's next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. It is NBA Draft Day as the two-day event tips off tonight. With the first round, the Blazers, of course, have the 7th and 14th pick, and they will have the 34th and 40th selection in the second round, concluding tomorrow night. Rip City Radio, we have got wall-to-wall coverage starting at 3 o'clock from Moda Center. Chad and Dwight and Rip City Drive will be out there. And then at 4:30, Blazers Network coverage. And then we will have full reaction tomorrow morning here on Rip City Mornings. The Knicks push all their chips in and trade for Brooklyn's Mikal Bridges. That completes the Villanova reunion in New York. And Brooklyn receives 5, count them 5, first-rounders, a second, and Bojan Bogdanovic. Also rumored around the NBA, the Houston Rockets apparently have interest in trading for Kevin Durant. No word on how much legs that rumor has. The rumor is true. Tyson Alger joins us in Hour 3, and we start Hour 2 now. 620 Rip City Radio. And welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Coming up 20 minutes from now, it is Make or Miss. 45 minutes from now, stuff we saw on the internet. And as I just mentioned in the update, Tyson Alger is going to be joining the show in hour number 3. I think Tyson will be proud of me. Watched, I would say 78% of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I think Tyson will be pretty proud of me. But we will we'll talk to Tyson about he's been in a lot of stadiums. Where's he at with the stadium list? I thought about this last night when I saw the trade. So the New York Knicks are going full James Holzhauer. Shout out Jeopardy. They're going all in. We are going to win, and we are going to win now. We are mortgaging the future for the now. And picks, who needs them picks? Are any of those picks going to be better than Mikal Bridges? Probably not. So they trade them all away. And the Brooklyn Nets now have a future. They have now finally moved past some of the ridiculous moves that they made when they pushed all of their chips into the table. And they got real close. Real close. They were a toenail away from potentially winning the NBA championship. But they mortgaged the future for the now and went in with Durant, went in with Kyrie, went in with James Harden. And then, of course, they made an even worse move by now their hand was forced, but made an even worse move in bringing in Ben Simmons, a basketball player that can't shoot in an era where shooting may be the most important skill you can have. So Brooklyn gets 5 picks back. A second-round pick as just a kicker. Bojan Bogdanovic, sure. But they now have a future. The tank is going to be on now, and the Brooklyn Nets are going to start drafting players. And the Knicks, so there's 2 things about this that I find fascinating. Why am I talking about the Knicks? Well, one, we've been talking about how it looks like Boston is going to be a wagon for a while. Interesting timing for the Knicks to mortgage everything to bring in Mikal Bridges. But here's the other thing. You now have, currently on the Knicks, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, DiVincenzo, and now you add Mikal Bridges. Brenden, they got 4 players from the same college team. Now, normally you see that and you go like, well, That's an absurd way to build your roster. Turns out they were still all really good.
If Tom Thibodeau wasn't a good coach, I'd halfway say they're going to go get Jay Wright.
They feels like they might be going to get Jay Wright.
If he flamed out in like the first round this year, Justin, because Tom Thibodeau's had what, 5-6 years with the Knicks now?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Timberwolves before that. But regardless, this is if you, just think about if it was like for one of us, Justin. If it was and there were 4 or 3 Ducks on a team or Beavers on a team from say there was an NBA team and it had Dylan Brooks, Jordan Bell, and who's the next best? Peyton Pritchard, right? From that Final Four team, right? You probably would be like, man, that's kind of like my new NBA team. Like, there are so many Villanova fans who are like, might as well pull for the Knicks now. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of cool.
So I had this thought last night because we've seen a lot of college basketball teams with a full ton of talent. Is the 2016 Villanova Wildcats the most, not the best? Now, they won a national championship, but there are other better teams, I believe, in the history of college basketball. But in terms of just pure talent, because the NBA, boy, you get chewed up and spit out if you don't have talent and ability and work ethic and everything else. From a pure talent standpoint, is the 2016 Villanova Wildcats the best assimilation in college basketball of basketball talent? Let me run through the names. So, now here's what's interesting. None of them, because we have a draft coming up later tonight. Brenden, none of these guys were drafted in the top 18. Okay? Blazers have 7 and 14. Josh Hart was on that team. Ryan Arcidiacono, which Blazer legend, Ryan Arcidiacono, but a guy played in the NBA. Jalen Brunson. Mikal Bridges. I was wrong about the whole 18th. He was 10th overall. That was my bad. Mikal Bridges was drafted 10th overall. Mikal Bridges and Dante DiVincenzo. So you've got number 10 overall, a number 17 overall. Was Josh Hart drafted?
Yes.
Was he?
End of the first round by the Lakers.
End of the first round by the Lakers. And then, of course, you've got Jalen Brunson, who is he was a second-round pick, right?
Yes.
So, regardless of where they fit in the draft, boy, Hart, NBA starter. Jalen Brunson, potential MVP one day. I mean, wasn't he top 3 or top 4 in the MVP voting this year?
Yeah.
So you got Jalen Brunson, who's a potential MVP. Mikal Bridges, NBA starter. Dante DiVincenzo. That's all on one team. All right. Are you ready for some more college basketball throwbacks? Brenden, I'm curious your thoughts. We're going to go in the way back machine. Now, from Villanova, they had 6 players on that roster that played in the NBA, 4 of which are legit NBA players. Do you remember Daniel Okefu? Should I know that guy?
No.
Okay. Well, it says he played in the NBA.
I don't remember that dude.
Played 4 years at Villanova. But you got Hart, basically the 4 guys on the Knicks. They're all playing in the NBA.
Add in 2 more. Chris Jenkins was an NBA player for a minute, and so was Eric Paschall. So how are we talking about, like, basically that entire team? Amari Spellman, too? I mean, is that entire team, basically?
Well, I don't have those guys on the 2016 roster.
Oh, are you 15-16? I'm looking at 16-17. I'm sorry.
When did they win the title?
Was
I looking at the wrong? I thought they won the title in 16. When they
title
hit the
was 17-18.
But I thought they also won the title. When did they hit the 3-point shot over North Carolina? That was 16.
15-16.
Boom.
Yes,
That's
correct.
the roster I'm looking
Got
at.
you. Okay, sorry. Apologies.
No worries. They got a lot of dudes, and they got a couple national titles in there. All right, I go back to when I was a kid. UNLV Running Rebels of 1990 and 1991. Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, and Greg Anthony, those big 3, they all played, I think, a ton of years. Stacey Augmon, Blazer legend. Mr. Plastic. Elmore Spencer, don't remember him. And a guy named Eric Gray. But back in the 90s, to have those 3 guys in Larry Johnson, who was, at one point, he was a top 10, top 15 player in the league. Greg Anthony was a legit point guard. 06-07 Florida. Are you ready for this one? Torian Green, Al Horford, Corey Brewer, Joakim Noah, Chris Richard, and Maurice Spates. That's all in the 07. That's the 07
Mo Buckets, man.
Florida roster.
Yeah, stacked.
So, like, obviously they had the they called the 04s because they were the 04 recruiting class of Horford, Brewer, and Noah. And then you add in Torian Green. You add in Maurice Spates, who was there as a freshman. This one's interesting. 2012 Kentucky. 2011, 2012 Kentucky. A lot of NBA players. I believe the entire starting lineup got drafted. But not exactly like the Villanova team, because all of those guys got drafted, but they're playing incredibly well in the NBA. Anthony Davis, not bad. You had Doran Lamb, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Terrence Jones. Shout out Jefferson. Terrence Jones, Marcus Teague, Darius Miller, Kyle Whittier. There's also Kyle Whittier, Portland kid. That's a pretty stacked roster. But really, if you'd like, other than Anthony Davis, anybody else really do anything in the NBA? Kidd-Gilchrist stuck around for a bit.
Yeah, but not much.
But not much. Like, that's unbelievable. They had that many guys. They had 7 guys on that team drafted and played in the NBA. Was on an NBA roster at one point. But boy, that 16 Villanova team might be the best because all of those guys got drafted. 4 of them are currently playing in rotation guys, if not starters. 1 is a potential MVP. That was such a stacked roster.
Oh, it was. Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of other. Where's the Karl Anthony Towns Kentucky team? That one I think also I might be going the wrong way.
Yeah, that was Towns. That was maybe Keldon Johnson. That was maybe De'Aaron Fox was the point guard, I think, for that Towns team.
So they also had Julius Randle. Kentucky's a wagon. Oh, my goodness. Julius Randle, Willie Cauley-Stein. He had
a minute.
He had a minute. Got weird. Got face tattoos. Didn't he get the face tattoos?
Yes, I think so.
All right, there you go. Aaron Harrison, Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, Willie Cauley-Stein. Dakari Johnson. That one might give them a run for their money. So there you go. But, man, 2016 Villanova. Just guys naming dudes. It's one of my favorite parts about sports radio. You know what else is my favorite part about sports radio? Winning stuff. And congratulations to whoever won Ticket Tuesday yesterday. We keep the winning streak alive with exclusive tickets to the Hillsboro Hops all season long. So listen to Rip City Drive every Tuesday afternoon for your chance to win or get Hops tickets now at hillsborohops.com. Make or miss next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 1 hour from now, Tyson Alger is going to join the show. Very excited to talk to Tyson. I think we're like, 8.5 weeks? 8.5 weeks from college football getting underway. So take a look at the season ahead. So a lot of fun stuff to talk to Tyson Alger about. We also, of course, have the NBA draft, Rip City Drive, live from Moda Center this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Blazer Network coverage, I should say, begins at 4:30. Got the number 7, got the number 14 pick. What's going to be going on with Blazer? Do they move up? It feels clinging to me. That's the feel I get. Now, I would not put any thoughts into my feelings, but clinging feels like the name. I'm curious, did the Blazers, do they move up to get him? I think there might be, in this particular draft, Brenden, I think we might see a lot of moves coming up this afternoon or this evening.
I think it's going to be a busy afternoon. I think we're going to see some Blazer chips start to fall. I think there could be some trades today. I think a very interesting day to keep an eye on things.
All right, so we've got a lot of stuff on the way. Right now, though, it's time for Make or Miss.
All right, firing up Make or Miss, Justin. The Blazers will make at least one trade today.
Let's put it out in the universe because I want to see some action. Let's say that's a make. I don't know what move they would make. I don't know.
All players can be traded. We could see Malcolm Brogdon attached to a pick and traded today. We could see multiple picks traded with players. Like now, we saw yesterday with the Bridges deal. The new league year has started, Justin. It is time to go.
And currently, everyone on the roster is tradable right now, correct? Because remember when I was a couple years ago, I was a big dumb doofus, and I didn't realize that there were certain players that couldn't be traded for like 6 months.
Yeah, nobody got a new contract, so yes.
All right, what do you think about this, this, and this? It's like, Justin, you realize that can't happen. That's in the bargaining agreement. You're a big dumb doofus. The pick that I'm fascinated with is 14, right? Because let's examine the options here. In a draft of, I don't even want to keep calling it a bad draft because I think that's unfair. It's unfair to the draft, okay? Can we be a little nicer to the draft? I don't think it's an unfair draft or a bad draft. I think it's an unfamiliar draft. And I also think, Brenden, it could be, if I could spin this, like 14 could be an oddly valuable asset if there's a guy out there that you like. Do you know what I mean? Usually in the NBA draft, there's 3 or 4 guys. Boom, they're gone by the top 5. There could be as many as 16, 17 guys that maybe you as an organization feel like that. I don't know why everybody's missing the ball. We see it with this French guy. I saw there was a Serbian guy in the mix. Maybe one of the Kentucky guys, right? It's like if you like a player in this draft and you're sitting there maybe in the 14th might be interesting, and especially if the Blazers get whom they want at 7, does 14 now start coming in as a potential tradable asset? I don't know. Or maybe they are about talent acquisition and they want as many guys as possible. But you've mentioned it a couple of times. I don't think, are they going to take 4 guys in the next 2 days? Do you think 4 guys are going to be drafted?
I do. I think they will, as we've had our guests on, Fentress, Pounce, I think that who gets moved is still up for a debate. But again, the Blazers have to make moves. Let's just say one guy's traded. I think you could still kind of finagle the roster to still take 3 or 4 guys. But yeah, I will say confidently right here, I think they draft at least 3 of those players and keep at least 3 of those players. We'll see. But, for a team, Justin, that, like you've mentioned before, needs to really commit and see what Scoot and Shaden can do. Right? You want that, right? Clear the deck. I mean, you talked about it yesterday, or maybe it was Monday, where you're like, Oklahoma City, as soon as those guys were gone, they empowered Shea to be the guy. It was like, hey, no, you don't get to hang on to Paul George, even though you're 10 years apart,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
I've been saying it for months. Here's the other part of it, though, because I am guilty of looking at the Blazers in a vacuum, right? Looking at the rest of the league, right? If in fact Houston and Phoenix start doing this little Kevin Durant, Devin Booker dance, because now on ESPN they said, should the Suns trade Devin Booker?
That's
it's like, no,
ludicrous.
Don't understand how, but Rockets apparently now have interest in both, according to Woj. So there's something going on. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on. And here's what I wonder. If dominoes start falling, Houston makes a move. Phoenix makes a move. We saw New York make a move. We know that the Clippers are fascinating to me. What did the Clippers do? Because Paul George has until when? Saturday?
Saturday.
Paul George has until Saturday to decide on his player option. Now, he's going to opt in because that's free money. But is that...
Unless he opts out and signs a max.
Who's going to offer Paul George a max?
76ers.
They've got the money for that?
Sixers have
Wouldn't
70.
it be better to just have him take the option, then work out a trade?
It's possible. The Sixers have $70 million in cap space, so they can...
all right. Fair enough.
The Sixers,
Fair enough.
Sixers have a lot of cap space. That's
All
why
right, so let's say the Paul George says, I'm opting out. I'm a free agent. And he signs with Philly. If you're the Clippers, do you then start looking to move other players? Or do they try to get OG Anunoby, who's obviously said he's not going to opt in with the Knicks, right? OG Anunoby's going to. So do you try to get him,
I'd be surprised.
Is LA a potential spot for a guy like Malcolm Brogdon?
Yeah, no, I was going to say Malcolm Brogdon or even Anthony Simons, right? So it's like, I think, like we said earlier in the week, the Orlando Anthony Simons stuff has been so loud. It's almost like I don't want to believe it, because it's like if something's that loud, it's almost like fans are pushing it.
But also in the NBA, when you only have so many guys on the roster, you lose one piece, then everybody starts scrambling.
Right, and I think
maybe the Blazers are sitting there going like, all right, who wants a solid backup point guard?
Yeah, Joe Cronin's got to be feeling good about this, because if you can get more dominoes to drop, then you find teams like, trying to think of someone who's in the middle who thinks they can contend but maybe won't now after the move. So, like, Portland's not going to deal with them because of past history, but, like, right now, if you're the Miami Heat, you are really not feeling great. You're like, we got Jimmy, we got Bam. That's it.
Tyler Hero.
Well,
Yeah, Tyler Hero, who are paying how much?
Yeah, that's why we
Like
didn't want him
9
either, as it turns out. But
how much money are they paying Tyler Hero? Like $45 million a year?
35. But
Oh,
yes,
35.
point taken. Point taken and fair.
Making more than most NFL quarterbacks?
Yes.
Tyler Hero is? Got
Yes.
it. Okay.
But, yeah, I would say that, like, maybe Portland can get into a situation where now, Justin, a team is like, we need that extra piece. Maybe you're right, it's the Clippers. Maybe it's the Lakers want Malcolm Brogdon, right? Maybe,
Nah, Lakers are going to get Bronny. He's going to be their backup point guard.
Well.
Lakers are going to get Bronny. By the way, I've got more on some stuff I saw on the internet. I saw something about Bronny we're going to talk about. A little tease ahead. Something I saw on the internet about Bronny James. We're going to talk about that in approximately 15 minutes.
Okay.
I think the more we talk about it, it might be a lame-o draft, and then by Saturday could get real interesting in this league.
I think the Blazers we'll be able to drive up a bidding war for the players on their roster that other teams want. That includes Jeremy Grant, who was obviously checked in by Dallas and some others this week. That includes Matisse Thybulle, who I think could help a contending team at his salary. So all that to say, Justin, it like you said, I think we're just like tick, 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 just kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop.
Also, keep an eye on the Atlanta Hawks. They've got the number 1 pick, but little birdie told me that the 2 guys that are projected at the top of the draft, which is help me out,
Sarr and
Rissicher. Thank you. Neither one of them sound too jazzed about playing for the Atlanta Hawks.
But Justin, there's no taxes in Atlanta for the Hawks. So as I'm making a flying hawk thing right now.
Do the French players care about the taxes? Guy got to, and I don't know what income tax is in France, but it's got to be way more than anywhere in America, right? I don't know how they do taxes in France, but it's got to be like they got socialized medicine over there. It's got to be huge.
Between 20 and 50%.
See? They don't care.
That's a lot of taxes.
Take us wherever we want. We don't
But
care.
that's just Europe. Europe, you pay a ton of taxes.
Could you imagine what Wimby's telling like people? He's like, yeah, I went to San Antonio. They don't take anything.
I know, he's probably like, do you guys see my checks?
Guys,
Like,
they nothing. I think they made a mistake. Like they've taken nothing out of my check. I get paid everything. It's Texas. It's crazy.
so true. It's so
But no, again, the rumors are getting from a whisper to a conversation to a little bit louder that Trae Young, not the best teammate, and that not a lot of these guys want to play with Trae Young. I mean, you think about it. If you are Risticher, if you are Sarr, and you're a coveted, you want to go play on a team with a ball-dominant guard who's not going to pass? I mean, I don't know. But that's the rumors that I heard one rumor yesterday.
That's interesting because
From a prominent Atlanta media member.
if Atlanta feels that
Put two
way,
and two together, you figure out who I'm talking about.
maybe they should trade out of number one. Again, like I said, Justin.
But that's the problem. There's never been a worse time to have the number one pick.
I know, right?
There's never been a worse time because the risk reward or the tightrope you have to walk to not pick a clunker at number one is so high. So high. And we know there's going to be a Tyrese Halliburton, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, maybe not a Giannis, but there's going to be an all-star out of this draft. There's going to be one. It might be Risticher. But have the number one pick, that's in this draft, that's probably the last place you want to be. And like Atlanta, like, oh, well, maybe we'll trade out of it. To who? Who's going to trade for the number one pick?
Like I said, Justin.
Is there some team like the Detroit Pistons? Just like, we love that Risticher guy. And I don't know.
I'm telling you, the Atlanta Hawks GM woke up this morning. It's like, thinking about moving off number one.
And I think he'd be like, why is nobody answering my phone?
Yeah,
They're like,
true,
because
right?
nobody wants that number one pick, dude.
No one wants that smoke.
There's no Bell Callahan at the end of this one. There's a 7'2" French guy, but nobody really knows who he is.
It's true. It's true.
All right, do we got another one?
Yeah, let's see if we can get to a couple more. Let's switch gears because I do want to talk about this. Only one episode left, but Ed O'Neill nailed Donald Sterling and clipped.
I got to watch. I'm one behind.
Gotcha.
I'm one behind.
Yesterday's episode, maybe the best of the series.
You think so?
Yeah,
Okay.
solid. Very solid. Still not a big fan of the player actors. I'll say that. That's
Because again,
the
I think it's easier. One, Donald Sterling is a kook, and I think
a nice way of putting it.
Now, there's other things I could say, but in terms of just as a billionaire, he's
Sure.
kooky. And I'm not an actor. Okay, I'm not a thespian. I am not in the dramatic arts. But I would imagine the kookier the character, the more fun it is, right? Whereas, like, the guy playing Chris Paul, like, there's nothing kooky about Chris Paul. Right? That's got to be a tough. And plus, we know Donald Sterling's been out of our lives
For 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
We see Chris Paul every day. We see, we see, Blake Griffin. We see him all the time, right? We know, like, what those guys look like. We see J.J. Redick every day. Like, so it's got to be tough to play like those players. But, yeah, Donald Sterling, what a kook. What a
Yeah, like I said, I've seen a couple interviews now that obviously you know him from another TV show. For me, it was more watching him on Modern Family, but it's like I've seen a couple interviews where he was hesitant, Ed O'Neill, to take this role, and at first said no, and then was like, well, it's challenging, and oddly enough, Justin, he's like, I'm not really a big sports guy, so I didn't know who Donald Sterling was.
I don't think he's a big basketball. He's a huge football guy.
Okay, that makes
He used to play
makes
for the Steelers.
Okay,
Or
so
was
that
in camp. He was in
okay.
camp with the Steelers.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes more sense. But yeah, I mean, like,
Also threw 4 touchdowns for Polk High in City championship.
But all the little mannerisms, the acting, and you'll see this when you watch, Justin, they introduced the player actors who play Draymond and Steph. Oh, gosh. It was tough to watch.
It's always tough.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I remember they,
Come on.
That's why in the movie Air, they didn't have Michael Jordan, because you can't have anybody
perfect.
that plays Michael Jordan. Nobody can do that. Long time ago, there was a Tiger Woods TV movie, and it was the guy's trying his best, but it's that's not Tiger Woods. I mean, it's those when they are so famous and it's kind of hard to suspend disbelief. But no, it's been good. Clipped it's been interesting. I don't know. Now Chris Paul says he calls baloney on a couple of things.
Oh, he doesn't like some of it. I haven't seen that.
He doesn't like some of it. He says some of it. Now I think they did what they do sometimes, which is they smush the timelines together to make it sound like that. I wasn't there for that, and I was like, well, it just makes it easier to just smush it all together. Because he said when they would throw the white party, which is you dress in white.
Yes, got to make that clear.
With Donald Sterling, you have to make it very, very clear that the party dress code is that everyone dresses in white. And Chris Paul was like, yeah, that they were done doing that by the time I got there.
Interesting,
But Blake Griffin said, yeah, I was there, and he did grab me by the hand and walk me around, and somebody came up to me and was like, just keep smiling, kid.
Yeah.
So they smushed some timelines together, but
no, it's
they
crazy.
do that in movies and TV shows.
Because, just things that popped up in the algorithm is two things that I, and again, not a big spoiler because you know what happens, Justin, but you see Adam Silver's speech by the Adam Silver actor. And
they got an Adam Silver actor?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And at first I'm like, oh, does this actor because he was kind of tripping over his words and stuttering a little bit. And I was like, oh, wait. And I went back. Adam Silver was so nervous in that press conference.
This is his first major press conference as a commissioner. He just was named commissioner a month earlier.
Right. And then I fell into another rabbit hole where a couple weeks ago before he got hired, he was on JJ Redick's podcast with him. And he's like, hey, Clipped is a big deal. I was on that team. That was your first major decision. And, he's kind of reflected on it and was like, the timeline of that, he said, is still crazy. He heard the clip on TMZ on Saturday morning. Donald Sterling was banned for life by Tuesday. Like that. And we just think, oh, they built 8 episodes of a show around 3 days. To that point.
Well, they did the dumb flashback one. I didn't like the flashback one.
Yeah, not the biggest. But all that to say.
I didn't know what they were doing, but they did the flashback one.
Right.
All right, what if you were to make, not a 30 for 30, because I've got ideas for days on 30 for 30, but if you were to do another sports scandal, shall we say, TV show, I know what I want to see.
Deflategate. I want to see Brady go to court. Yep.
Deflategate. I want all of it. And I
who can play Brady though? Come on, himself.
Well, it's somebody playing Blake Griffin. I mean, I don't know if he's not Tom Brady, but I'm just saying who can play Giselle.
Yeah.
But that one, we need a Deflategate.
That'd be great.
5 episodes.
I have a feeling though you're gonna need
Brady's phone mysteriously disappearing.
I was gonna say considering he's got kids, I don't know if the Kraft family would ever let that fly. And even after Bob Kraft is gone, Jonathan Kraft will run. Belichick's already out, so he's probably like, yeah, I'll talk about it. Why not?
Well, no documentary. I'm saying scripted series.
Scripted series.
You don't need anybody's permission.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Run it. Yeah. I actually like that. Go with it.
Boom. There we go. All right. Hey, Toyota and iHeartRadio, we need your help filling the truck with canned and non-perishable food items to benefit the Oregon Food Bank. Bring your donations. And look for the specially marked Toyota Tundra this Saturday at Fred Meyer on Southwest Boones Ferry Road in Wilsonville. While you're there, enter to win a trip for 2 to the iHeartRadio Music Festival in Las Vegas. Join us at Fred Meyer as we fill the truck for Toyota and the Oregon Food Bank. Stuff we saw on the internet next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it's time to wrap up hour number 2. A little segment we call Stuff We Saw on the Internet. Now, I understand that fabulous Las Vegas was not built by donations. I understand that fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, and all the glitz and the glamour and the 5-star cuisine and the 24-hour service, that, yeah, you can afford to do that because a lot of people show up, they bet, they lose their money, and that's the game. You get some entertainment, you have some fun, maybe you have a story or two, maybe you have a story you don't tell, and for your troubles, you lose X amount of money. Vegas takes that and says, thank you very much. And then there are times where people just throw away their money, just absolutely light their money on fire. And we see that a lot in sports betting. Now, I say this as someone who has bet on Tiger Woods more than I probably should. I say this as someone that, if in fact they ever do fight, I might bet Mike Tyson to beat Jake Paul. And Mike Tyson's almost 60 years old. So I am not one that is immune from lighting money on fire. But a couple of weeks ago, I saw an article about the betting odds and the betting public, the money in the betting public on the NBA draft, which is coming up just a couple of hours from now. And that Bronny James, who at the time was the number 96 rated prospect, since then he's down to 55. And who has the 54th pick? Oh, that's right, his dad's team. But at the time, a couple of weeks ago, it was out there that Bronny James was getting the most money, the most action to just be drafted, Justin? No, to be the number 1 pick. Right now, he is plus 20,000. Plus 20,000 to be the number 1 pick. And so I thought, well, as soon as the draft gets a little bit closer and maybe some workouts and the odds are going to start shifting a little bit. The numbers are going to come back down to life. Turns out, boy, I was wrong. That's right. Bronny James still, what are we, a handful of hours away from the draft getting underway in Brooklyn. It's in Brooklyn? Draft's in Brooklyn, handful of hours away, and Bronny James is still the most bet on player to be drafted number 1 overall. Is this an algorithm thing? Like, is this an Emperor's New Clothes thing? Because even I understand, like, hey, what, you bet $5, he's plus 20,000. Who's to say? It's like, yeah, but that's just, why don't you just go out and light your $5 on fire? There's no way, shape, or form this kid is getting drafted number 1 overall. It's not that it is a 1 in a million. It's a 0 in a million. It's not happening.
Now, first round, I just saw plus 1,000 for the first round. I'd maybe take that action.
Yeah. I'd put it past
on that.
the Lakers to draft him at 17. But
I would.
Brenden, he is the most bet on player to be number 1.
That should tell you how and I know Justin.
This is the algorithms talking, because again, I say this all the time. This is why and it's not just the younger generation. Everybody is capable of getting sucked into the algorithm. This is the Emperor's New Clothes, right? When you swipe, and your TikTok or your Instagram reel or your YouTube short or whatever it is, and you are a LeBron stan, and if all you see, because everything is catered to you on your phone, it is an a la carte menu that gets into your brain and knows exactly what you want to see. If all you see is that, boy, Bronny James, you could maybe find a way to make yourself believe that there is an actual chance. And it would be one thing if it was just like, 5% of the betting public bet on Bronny James to be number 1 overall. I get that. It's dumb, but I get it. Like 5%. Hey, why not? Throw a flyer out there. I think 36% of the betting public, or 36% of the bets coming in for number 1 overall. Now, part of this is because we don't have a Wembanyama, right? Now, BetMGM has this one, plus 160, which is as close to 50-50 odds as you can get. They've got him plus 160 to be drafted by the Lakers. Now, that's a bet that I could understand. You take that, you parlay it with the first round, you might make a couple $100, and good for you. But how? Oh, wait, as of Monday, the Lakers taking him is now minus 120. So
So if he's still plus 1,000 to be in the first round, Justin, that might be easy money.
So how did we get to this place? How did we get to this place? Like, I can understand why, like, Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp are on First Take, and they're like, should Bronny be a first rounder? And like, and you have a dumb back and forth. But like the fact that people are actually placing bets, they're actually putting their money up to have it be, and DraftKings and FanDuel and BetMGM are all like, well, thank you very much. We will take your donation. We appreciate it. We'll just continue to have our stock go through the roof. Is this just like crazy LeBron fans? Is this Twitch fans that don't know anything about basketball? Who are these people that are betting on this? Because
it's a good question.
I don't pretend to know who's going to go number one, but I know who's not. That being said, if you were to ask me, I'm going to say I think the Lakers draft him in the second round. What are the odds, while we're talking about betting odds, what are the odds that an NBA team drafts Bronny knowing that it is common knowledge that his dad wants to play with him?
Unless it's one of the teams Rich Paul mentioned when we talked about this last week, there's a 0 chance it happens.
You don't think there's a chance that somebody in the 20s goes, you know what we do? We draft Bronny. We don't need a draft pick this year anyways, and maybe you get a better piece because the Lakers are going to trade for him. Like, that's what I wonder, right? If you're Cleveland Cavaliers, you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, where are they picking? They're at like 24 or something like that. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, just for fun, because it's still Dan Gilbert, right? The guy who, remember when he wrote that open letter when LeBron left and called him a turncoat and whatever else? He'll never play here again. And then he did. Maybe the Cavs are a bad example because they still love LeBron for the one championship. But, like, you're the Indiana Pacers, right? You're the Indiana Pacers.
Mess with your team's chemistry to bring in.
But you bring Bronny in, you go like, yeah, he's going to the G League. Or the Lakers would be more than happy to move him for you. What's it worth to you?
There's maybe 1 or 2 teams, Justin, but I think
I hope that happens. Can that happen, please?
Yeah, no, I think there are 28 teams who are like, we're not even concerning ourselves with a prospect who doesn't belong in this draft. So that's what I'd be saying this morning.
It's probably the smart move. This is why I would be an awful GM, but just need one crazy guy to be like, hey, Lakers, how bad do you want him? He's not good. But the Lakers want him.
I know. It's still stupid to say it out loud. Like, this dude, 2 points a game.
It's like, oh, this collectible I have is not good. They're like, yeah, but that guy wants it. So we'll see.
Guess it's all about what someone will pay for it.
Exactly right. All right. We've got hour number 3 next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA Draft is tonight. The two-day event gets underway later on this evening. Portland has the 7th and 14th, along with the 34th and 40th selection. Rip City Radio coverage of the draft begins at 3 o'clock. Chad and Dwight of Rip City Drive will be at Moda Center. Blazer Network coverage begins at 4:30, taking you all the way into the evening. We have a reaction bright and early tomorrow morning. So wall-to-wall coverage here on Rip City Radio. The Knicks, they got their guy. They're not waiting for the draft. They trade away all their picks for the foreseeable future. They have Mikal Bridges joining them as he completes the Villanova reunion in New York. Brooklyn receives 5 first-rounders, a second-rounder, and Bojan Bogdanovic. Coming up in approximately 20 minutes, friend of the program, Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joins us. We've got the RCM mailbag, and beware of the dreaded missed pick. Hour 3 starts right now, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Wednesday. We're having a good time here. For the last couple of weeks and really couple of months, when the ping pong balls fell and Portland went to 7, and I understand it was a bit of a bummer, but from a sports heartbreak perspective, not exactly from a logical talent evaluation and roster building perspective, but from a sports heartbreak perspective, I think Blazers are in a pretty good spot heading into the draft tonight because somebody, some team, and it might be the Hawks, it might be the Spurs, it might be the Pistons, it might be the Wizards. Somebody is going to make an egregious error in the draft, and maybe it won't even be their fault. Because I do think there is so much more luck in drafts than people want to admit. You think about the confluence of events, the stars that have to align just for you to be able to get, for the Blazers to be able to get Damian Lillard. Think about like the stars that had to align for that to happen. And we look back on that draft and we look back on that pick and go, boy, they really had that, but they scouted it up. But it also took, 5 other teams to say no. It also took 5 other teams to maybe not send a scout to a workout or to maybe get a bad evaluation. You need so much luck on top of work, right? And on top of preparation and all of that stuff. You need a good smidge amount of luck. But from a sports heartbreak perspective, somebody's going to make an egregious error. And much like we look back on recruiting classes in football, in college football, much like we look back at the NFL draft, like nobody, if in fact, let's just say, let's live in a fun hypothetical. Let's just say the Blazers at number 7 find their next all-star. Let's just say they do it. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility. A handful of years ago, they found Dame at 6. So to find somebody at 7, and you guys have already heard me over and over and over again if you listen to this show. And if you're new, hey, welcome to the show. It's a fun place to hang out in the mornings. Tell your friends. But if you've been listening to the show at all, you know, like, look at the players who are succeeding in the NBA right now. Yeah, there's some top 3 picks in there. And yeah, there's some second rounders in there. And there is everything in between. Just look at sure, LeBron James, number 1 overall, maybe the greatest number 1 overall pick of all time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar might have something to say about that. But arguably the greatest number 1 overall pick of all time, LeBron James. Yeah, there's that guy. But there's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There's Tyrese Halliburton. There is Jokic, right? All of these guys. And when teams miss on some of these guys, we don't look back and go, yeah, but it was a bad draft. What do we say? You should have known. You should have known. Somebody is going to make an egregious error. Somebody is going to miss on a player tonight. And I think, as nuts as it sounds, and maybe I'm just kind of protecting my own sports heart here, being at number 7, not a bad place to be in this particular draft. Now, again, I don't know Joe Cronin. I've never talked to Joe Cronin. He's more than welcome to come on this show anytime he would like. I would love to have a chit-chat with Joe Cronin. But I don't know what's in his head. I don't know what he's thinking. And I don't know what him and is it Mike Schmitz?
He strikes me, Justin, as a good guy, a good guy to get beer with. Like, I think with maybe the old guy was like, single malt scotch as opposed to maybe
I would think martini.
Oh, you think martini
Feels
for
more
Cronin?
Martini
Or for Neil? Oh,
for Neil.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, Cronin feels beer.
Yeah, and I think you could I would like that. I'd like to just pick Joe Cronin's brain, get a beer for like 15, 20 minutes, man.
But I don't know what's in his brain. Maybe he has got his sight set on somebody.
He may.
Maybe he's got it figured out and going like, boy, please, upon please, let this happen and this happen and this happen. But I just think in a spot like this, going back to what we were talking about last hour, number 1 doesn't feel very comfortable, I would imagine. In this particular, you are setting, if you're Atlanta Hawk, you are setting the now maybe they go Alex Sarr, and he turns out to be a fine player. He turns out to be a contributing player. Maybe the Hawks get back in the Eastern Conference race just in a couple of years. Who knows? Maybe that happens. But history tells us in drafts like this, it's picks 7, 8, 9, 14, 15, 17. Heck, even into the 20s. When was this because you loved, when was Bam Adebayo taken?
14th.
14th.
2017 NBA draft.
14th overall.
I believe.
Who holds that spot? You got a Bam Adebayo. Famously, Giannis, 15th overall pick, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 11th. I think Halliburton was 21. I think he was 21. One of those, somebody is going to find a guy tonight. Some team, and maybe it's going to be 3 or 4 teams. Maybe it's going to be 1 or 2. Who knows? But I think from a protecting your own sports emotions, I think 7 and 14 is not a bad spot to be in. Because you're going to avoid just the big, giant whiff. And like I said, when you look back, like, Brenden, you brought this up during the break. Steph Curry draft.
Yes.
Steph Curry draft. Steph went 7th overall, I believe.
Got that draft up.
So Steph Curry went 7th overall in that draft. The Minnesota Timberwolves had picks 5 and 6, and they went
Ricky Rubio, Johnny Flynn.
Yeah. Not Randy Foye. Who's Randy Foye?
Randy Foye was an NBA player, probably around that same time.
Okay.
I get where you're going with that. But yeah, no, they had Minnesota.
They go Ricky Rubio,
two cracks,
and Johnny Flynn, and at the time I remember I was like, I kind of like the move. I've said it before. I said it during the NFL draft. I don't know why teams don't take 2 quarterbacks. One of them's going to work, right? You look at what the 49ers are doing. Like they took a guy at the very end of the draft, as well as taking a guy number 3 overall, and Brock Purdy turned out to be the guy. Can't really count on that, but I've always said, why wouldn't you just take 2? Just take 2 quarterbacks, battle it out. Because I know there's other things involved, and the last thing you want to do is wrap up, even if it's a rookie scale deal. A quarterback's not going to play. That's a lot of money sitting on the bench. But I remember at the time going like, man, I kind of like that move for the Timberwolves. Put 2 point guards in there. One of them's bound it. Now, Ricky Rubio played in the league, 11 years? He seemed to play for a long, long time.
He played up until this last year. This was his first year. He went back to Europe.
It's a lot of years he played in the NBA, but nobody remembers that. You know what they remember? You had 2 cracks at it, and you didn't get Steph Curry. You had 2 cracks, and you took 2 point guards, and you didn't get Steph Curry.
I mean, obviously.
But again, you think about Steph Curry, prime example. I very much remember the hot takes when the Warriors took him at 7. This is a waste of a pick. Too small, shoots too much. The physicality of the NBA. It's like, boom, 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 4 championships, greatest shooter of all time.
Obviously, Steph would go first in like a redraft in that draft, obviously. But like, still, you look back and it's like, even if you're like, go back and you say, hey, this Steph Curry's guy is going to be really good. Like, who wouldn't have taken Blake Griffin #1 that draft?
100%.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
Like, and James Harden went 3rd that draft, right? James
Harden was so good. He was so good in college.
He was a stud, and it's not like Steph hit another gear when he hit the NBA. We all know that. He changed it.
But like,
literally.
Nobody looks at the Clippers and go like, boy, you bungled that. Could have had Steph Curry.
Yeah,
Nobody looks at the Thunder and like, boy, you really blew that one. But the Minnesota Timberwolves,
yeah,
you had 2 picks.
And you took point guards. Like, that's the worst part.
And
you took point guards.
And he took 2 point guards and let Steph go right there at 7. But yeah, it takes so much luck is involved, and on top of, like I said, preparation and everything else.
But that's what I mentioned to you is, will the Spurs do that to find a point guard for Wemby tonight? Because they have, let me check, they have the 4th and 8th pick. So
I talked about how I think Atlanta's in an uneasy spot at #1. Like you said, even if they're like, oh, I'm thinking about trading off at #1, I don't know if anybody's taking that trade. I don't know if any. You know who's in the best spot tonight? The San Antonio Spurs. Because let me tell you something. The Spurs could fumble the next 5 drafts. It doesn't matter. They got Wemby. That guy is, if he stays healthy, he is going to be a massive, massive problem for everybody in the Western Conference. You could fumble the next 5 drafts if you're San Antonio. They probably won't, because historically, they draft pretty well. But you could fumble the next 5 drafts. They're going to be fine. But yeah, I think. Do you think they go back-to-back point guards? Who is it? Reed Shepherd is out there. And then who's the kid from the Ignite? Is it Holiday?
Ron Holland?
Holland. Knew it started with an H.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I could see them taking a swing on the kid from UConn, Castle, who everyone seems to like a lot. I could see them taking a shot on the kid that sounds like Jokic, but it's Topic, even though he's hurt. Justin, if
that was who everybody was hoping the Blazers were going to get when they thought maybe they were going to get the #3 pick, and it's like, boy, he's falling down.
He tore his ACL, right? But
I did not know that.
But if
I probably should.
If you're San Antonio, to your point, you're like, yeah, we can draft this guy and let him redshirt for a year. We have nothing but time.
All right, Rip City Radio, we are keeping Ticket Tuesday and the winning streak alive. We've got exclusive tickets to the Hillsboro Hops all season long. Make sure you listen to Rip City Drive each and every Tuesday for your chance to win or get Hops tickets at hillsborohops.com. Tyson Alger joins the show next, 620 Rip City Radio. As I mentioned, NBA draft coverage here on Rip City Radio begins at 3 o'clock. Chad and Dwight are going to be out at Moda Center. And then Blazer Network coverage begins at 4:30. We will have a reaction tomorrow morning. But with the NBA draft obviously taking up a big chunk of our attention, lest we forget, we have got video game rankings and a new floor in a basketball arena and potentially new uniforms being dropped in just a matter of hours. Joining us now, our good friend from the I-5 corridor. He created the I-5 corridor. He runs the I-5 corridor, and he is a friend of the program. Tyson Alger back on the big show. Good morning, Tyson. How we doing?
Hey, we're doing good. How are you, Justin?
What do you want to talk about right off the bat? You want to talk about potential uniforms? You want to talk about stadium rankings? You want to talk about basketball floors that kind of have trees now?
Let's go dealer's choice here.
All right. Let's talk about uniforms because
Beautiful.
Here's what's fascinating to me. I saw there was a video that Oregon football put up and kind of teasing this. They've been teasing this, and it made me feel very, very old because they are calling these new uniforms Generation O. And it's like, yeah, these are all of these players. They've known nothing but the new logo. And I was like, boy, I feel really old. And it reminded me of a time, Tyson, when I was doing local radio in Eugene, where once or twice a week, uniform was the topic. And it's funny that, like, Oregon, they're going to be dropping new uniforms, and Oregon fans are going to be very excited about it. But it's not going to be like a huge, massive impact on college football the way it was. And I mean, I think that's kind of a credit, but it is fascinating when you look back at this uniform journey that Oregon was on. I can remember when it was like, what combo are they wearing? Oh, they don't wear the same combo every time. Are they bringing out new ones? And now it's almost like commonplace, which is fascinating to me.
Dude, I remember when I was at the Oregonian, I think it was 2014, and it was the last project that our then sports editor was working on before he left the business. But it was he spent months on what was like a Oregon uniform generator, where it was like they uploaded every single like jersey the Ducks had worn, every single pair of pants the Ducks had worn, every single pair of socks, and like people could go through and either, you know, pick the specific game to see like what they were wearing in that game, or you could like create like your own like Frankenstein uniforms. And it was supposed to be like the Oregonians like savior for clicks, because I think there was some thing in it that every time you switched uniforms it was a new page view, and like that was like that's how big like the uniforms were at the time. And it was, you know, that I feel like maybe Oregon overdid it a little bit in like the 2010s when like they would release like the full like here's like a 5-page backstory on the uniforms that are coming out. But yeah, like it's definitely still a thing here in 2024. But like also like it does make me feel old too, that kind of what feels like the theme of like this year's new uniforms are just like here's all the cool ones that used to exist.
I mean, well, and again, maybe it was because in 2004, that was my first year in radio. The season wasn't going very well for Oregon, but I do remember, like in the mid 2000s, it was how the team did, how the standings are. What did we think of the uniforms? Like that was a talking point every single week. Like it was as big of a topic as the actual football program, which is kind of fascinating because I have to do the you don't understand, kids, you weren't there. But, you know, going back, other than maybe fully changing their offense in 2005 and then even more so with hiring a guy named Chip Kelly, this might have been one of the biggest gambles that Oregon football has made in a series of gambles in going to uniforms that were panned, criticized. I remember the first iteration of those Oregon O's. Like, boy, College Game Day like to make a lot of fun, but talk about just a roll of the dice and a huge gamble in a world that is built on tradition in college football to say, yeah, we're zagging when everyone else is zigging, and to have it pay off the way it did.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The thing is like it did pay off. I mean, like I can even take like my own personal experience. Like I didn't grow up a college football fan. I grew up in Alaska. Nobody really cared about college football up there. But like when Oregon started doing the uniform thing, like I knew Oregon as like the uniform school. Like this was back before like everyone was on the internet all the time, and like the Ducks had such a large social media presence. And like it felt like every school kind of had to have like that like one thing to like kind of stand out amongst the rest. And like Oregon's was uniforms, and then the offense kind of came with it too. But like it was just like such a, you know, you wanted to get the video game too to see like what uniforms were going to be in that game. Like it was something that like it was an outlier for a Duck, something that separated them a little bit from just, you know, the other West Coast programs out here. What's fascinating about like the last decade is, you know, that the thing for the Ducks was that they had so many uniform combinations, and like I actually think they've kind of reeled that back in over the last 10 years or so. Like, you know, if you go through the locker rooms, I bet you there's some other schools that have a lot more gimmicks and you know, maybe even more options than Oregon does, but there's still so much expectation and conversation around what the Ducks are doing. I mean, like it's crazy that they released just like it was like a 25-minute documentary yesterday, just an in-house production thing that was like super interesting. But I also think it shows like that the conversation has changed a little bit, because I'm surprised that didn't make more of a splash than it did yesterday, just because like I've, as you said to start this out, I feel like whenever there was like a sniff of like new uniforms coming out, it was kind of one of the biggest headlines of the week.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rib City Radio. Are you a video game guy? Are you like super producer Brenden? Are you all jacked up and geeked up for this college football 25 thing?
I'm a big video game guy. I'm not. I was never like I've always enjoyed the NCAA football series, but I'm not like counting down the minutes to when I can take over Middle Tennessee State and start my new dynasty.
What kind of offense are you looking to run? You going like maybe throwback to like Wishbone?
Oh yeah, we're gonna be like a Wishbone wing tee.
Nice.
Either that or you know, we'll just audible to like 4 verts and just bomb it down the field every time.
Go to like some Texas high school like head coach who's putting up like 70 points a game, hire him as your offensive coordinator, and just disrupt the whole system. Going
to know what hit them. You know, it's just that I've covered Oregon enough to know how to revolutionize the game. So we're going to bring it in hard.
But here's what I wanted to bring up, because they listed, now this is video game. This is not real life. Some people on the internet, I think yesterday, thought this was real life. This is a video game. It's make believe, and it's supposed to be for fun. But EA Sports, they listed their top 10 toughest places to play in the upcoming video game. Oregon was at 11, Autzen Stadium. I think I'm biased, would like to see him in the top 10, but 11 is fair. Kyle Field at Texas A&M got listed at number 1. I've never been to Kyle Field. I don't think you have either. But Ohio State in the Horseshoe is 4. I know you were there when Oregon played at Ohio State. What was that like when you think, because it's the number 4 toughest place to play according to this EA Sports in college football? What do you remember from being there in Columbus?
Okay, first of all, number 1, Oregon. If you were number 10, like would people have been okay with it? Is it just because it's like outside the top 10?
Yeah, because
like,
they had a graphic.
11's pretty good.
They had a graphic for the top 10. Tyson.
11's pretty good. There's a lot of football schools in the country. Like, you're a smaller stadium. You outpunch your weight class. It's gonna be okay. Like, yes, I know in like the 2005 game, Autzen was like number 4 on the game, and you could argue that Autzen's only gotten louder since then. But still, you're number 11. It's gonna be fine.
There was a graphic for the top 10, Tyson. They didn't make the graphic, okay? They didn't make the initial tweet. You got to click in and go to the link to see them sitting at 11.
Well, that's one less banner we get to hang then, I guess. Ohio State was a tough one, because like I remember it sounding like a jet engine at the start of the game. Like it's impressive when you have a fan base that's as locked in as Oregon's is, but then when you do layer on 40,000 more people in a stadium, that does make a little bit of a difference. However, by the time I got down to the field, when Oregon was putting the cherry on top of that game, all you could really hear was like this sliver of Oregon fans in like the top corner of the stadium that were just going bonkers. The rest of it was dead quiet. So tough place to play, apparently, maybe for other schools, but in my experience, the visiting team comes out quite nicely.
The other one that I want to talk about, because they're sitting at 18, Rice-Eccles Stadium, which, I mean, I think I don't want to say overinflated, but it's just one of those places that everybody in the conference just kind of agreed, outside of Autzen and maybe and maybe Husky Stadium to agree, but everybody in the former Pac-12, because it doesn't exist anymore, just knows that, like, oh, got to go to Utah this year. That's just it's going to be tough. And I think it's almost, yeah, those Mormon students are all hopped up on hot chocolate and root beer, and I get it, but it's also the fact that Kyle Whittingham built one of the toughest teams, and you know that not only the crowd, but you go to Rice-Eccles Stadium and you're going to be in a 4-quarter fight. Now, I know Oregon put it on them last year real early again, but that's another spot that, like you talk about, punches above its weight class. It's beautiful, it's scenic, and also you're going to be in a 4-quarter fight when you go to Rice-Eccles.
Yeah, the thing with that stadium is, like, yeah, there are some, like, inherent home field advantages. Like, it can be cold. You are at a little bit of elevation, and Utah is an above-average fan base. But I'm completely agreeing with you in that, like, I think the reason that they're in the top 25 there is that because Utah's just always a good team. Like, they're always a good team. Like I've never been in that stadium and been thought, like, my gosh, like, this environment is, to that degree of difficulty. Like, yeah, it's a rowdy stadium environment, but it's nothing like Washington on the road or, Oregon, or heck, I've even been like that college game day game in the Palouse when Minshew was playing quarterback against the Ducks. Like, that was rowdier than I've seen. That was rowdier than I've seen Utah. But I just think they're always a sound football team that always plays tough defense, that always plays you for 4 quarters. I think that can land you in the top 25 there.
2018 at Pullman. Just forgot how to snap for like a half a quarter. It's like, how do we snap? How do we snap a football, guys? I know it's loud here, but feel like snapping should come natural to us. One last thing on the atmosphere, because it is going to be fascinating heading into the Big Ten, Tyson, with, there's Rice-Eccles, Husky Stadium at times. I've also been to Husky Stadium when it was not an intimidating place to play. Has been the last couple years because they were really good. But Husky Stadium at times. Other than that, like, the Pac-12 never really had kind of one of those places. And now you look at the Oregon schedule, and, like, you're going to Wisconsin, you're going to Michigan in November, and then obviously Ohio State's coming out. Like, the game is going to be upped, and I think that's going to be one of the fun things, is both, I think, Big Ten fans that maybe come out west and some Oregon fans. Like, I'm begrudgingly going into this whole Big Ten thing. I know it's happening. I'm still mad about the Pac-12, but there is definitely going to be a massive upgrade in terms of week in, week out atmosphere, because, as we know, there are plenty of places in the Pac-12 that were just libraries.
That's one thing that I haven't really considered when thinking about this move, because, I mean, like, I would say most of, like, the former Pac-12 schools, like, could get up for a big game on occasion, but, like, I was at games at Arizona that were empty. I was at games at Arizona State that were empty. I was at games at Stanford that were always empty. Even when Oregon and USC were going at it during the Cristobal era, like, you'd go down to games at the Coliseum and that place would be like half full. Like, it was a very, very hit and miss and inconsistent conference when it comes to, like, having, like, that quintessential game day atmosphere. And when you look at, like, the Big Ten, I mean, you have Michigan and you have Ohio State and you have Penn State and Wisconsin and Michigan State. Like, I think that's going to be the biggest day-to-day difference. It's just going to seem like those games are always going to be bigger. Like, even when those programs have down years, which don't happen that often, it feels like they still have, like, the inherent fan base where it's not just like they're only getting sellout crowds when, like, the team's in national championship contention. Like, I think they have, like, a good base of what that atmosphere is going to be. And I think it'll be something that's really fun to kind of explore the next couple of years.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. The other big change, Oregon has reimagined Matthew Knight Arena. I have come clean. I have confessed. I am one of the Oregon fans, Tyson, that for years I lied. I lied about it. I was like, no, we like it. We like the Deep in the Woods. I lied. I never liked it. I don't think most Oregon fans liked it. This is like this feels very much like a compromise. I don't know if maybe some Big Ten officials said, hey, Oregon, that basketball court might work in your fancy pants Pac-12, but we have the Indiana Hoosiers in our conference. It feels a little bit like, okay, how about if we make the trees just a little bit lighter? Can we keep the trees, Big Ten, and we'll just make them a little bit lighter? That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, so I sat in on a presentation on Friday with Todd and Quinn Van Horn, who are kind of the main designers of this reimagining of the court, and I was kind of pretty struck initially when I saw like the first design of like, oh, so like we're trying this again, and not necessarily in like a bad way, but that court has been incredibly polarizing for the 14 years that it's been on the floor, and I think the trees were kind of the thing that were most striking for most people, and for them to take another attempt at the design and kind of include the main design elements, like, hey, props to you for trying it out again. I think they accomplished largely what they were trying to do. They made it less busy. I hated the colors of the original court, especially like in person. Like it just kind of looked like brown and orange and muddied together. So like I like that. They've kind of changed the colors and brought in like a ton of green. At the same time, there was also like kind of part of me that was hoping that they would just go for like a completely old school, like you said, like bring in like a Hoosiers type of floor, like make it like go the complete opposite direction and go incredibly simple. Then again, that would be a very, they're very conscientious of the brand that they're bringing into the Big Ten right now, and that this is their debut season in the conference. And I don't know if it would have been Oregon to go into that conference with just like a very simple new court design. So props for sticking with the vision, but let's maybe give it like a 7 out of 10, whereas the old one was like a 4.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. And one last thing before we let you go, Tyson, because most people who listen to this segment each and every week, they know that you are a hockey guy. You know the ins and the outs of the world of hockey. How much does it frustrate you? Because I don't know much about your favorite sport, but I know that the Conn Smythe Trophy is MVP of the entire playoffs, not just the Stanley Cup final. And so, therefore, if you lose and don't win the Stanley Cup, you could still win the Conn Smythe Trophy. I at least knew that. How much does it frustrate you to see people with the hot takes of like, how does the MVP of the finals not win it, knowing that, no, it's Conn Smythe. It's the entire playoffs.
Yeah, I can understand though, like that's hockey just going out of the way to be like tough, like we're already on ice, like we don't need to throw in extra rules. That being said, Connor McDavid's incredible. He didn't have a point in the last 2 games, like maybe NHL, like read the room a little bit, like give it to somebody else, or I think that if you're a player and you're awarded that, you should have the option to like take yourself out of the running. Because like I bet you McDavid would have taken himself out of the running if like opt out, like or just don't announce it, because he didn't come out and accept it, which I think was probably like the right thing to do. I saw some like very standoffish Canadians saying that like, oh, like that was rude of him, but like also like, you're completely gassed and you just lost Game 7 and you're supposed to be the hero for this country. So I think it's okay that you didn't come and take your loser's trophy. It's kind of like after the Red Box Bowl when like the Michigan State player didn't come and take the defensive player of the game and trophy, and Troy Dye instead stole it and said like, if you want it, come get it.
What a moment.
And that's how we wrap stuff back in to make it local, Justin.
I love it. Look at that. This is why that's why you're the best. That's why everybody should be subscribed to the I-5 corridor. I mean, one day we'll get the oral history of the Red Box Bowl. I look forward to that, along with many, many other great things. Hey, Tyson, thanks so much for your time. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Absolutely, buddy.
There you go. Tyson Alger, boys and girls. We have got the RCM mailbag next, 620 Rip City Radio. Before we get to the RCM mailbag, I do want to let you know about iHeart and the good folks at Toyota. That's right. We need your help to fill the truck for the Oregon Food Bank. We need canned and non-perishable food items. Donations Saturday, noon to 2, Boones Ferry Road in Wilsonville. Look for the specially marked Toyota Tundra in the Fred Meyer parking lot while you're there. Enter to win a trip for two to iHeartRadio Music Festival in Las Vegas. Join us at Fred Meyer as we fill the truck for Toyota and the Oregon Food Bank. Let's get to the RCM mailbag.
All right, Justin, firing a big mailbag today. What's your biggest cringe sound? So some people, it's the metal fork going across the plate. Some people, it's the chalkboards aren't really relevant anymore.
Oh, that's true. It should be, though.
I don't know if you've been in a classroom lately.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time.
They've got some real fancy stuff in there now for these kids. But, a little more advanced.
What was funny was
chalkboards.
In elementary school, when I went from 3rd grade to 4th grade, they built a new wing. So 4th and 5th grade at McGovern Elementary, let's go Cheetahs, we went into newer classrooms, and they were all whiteboards.
Yeah.
But it was a big, back in the day, you would you go to the board and try to spell couch or whatever with the chalk on the chalkboard. It was very embarrassing. But the new whiteboards came, I was like, yep, you are not allowed to touch any markers because they had to have special markers. Whiteboard technology has come a long way since then, but back in 1990, it was a very big worry. And then when I went from elementary school to middle school, back to the chalkboards. So
that's interesting because my experience was slightly different. So I don't remember chalkboards really growing up, and then got into elementary school and middle school, and they came out with smart boards, Justin.
What is a smart board?
It looks like a whiteboard, but you have
like a touch screen?
Kind
like
of.
a big old iPad?
You could draw on it, and then it would reflect onto the screen kind of a thing without, mark. So a bunch of markers would be cool. You'd go up and you'd touch the smart board, and then all of a sudden you could draw. But surprisingly enough, I did not have a chalkboard until I went to Oregon State. And then I go to Oregon State, I go, oh, wait,
they still got chalkboards.
My math professor is just going to write on the chalkboard for an hour? Right. Okay, got it. That was shocking to me.
Okay, now getting back
funny, but yeah, the
original question was not fingernails on a chalkboard. It is not a fork sliding across. It's two things that are my cringe things. It is the sound of now again, it's all changed because iPhones now, but back in the day, the old school digital clock alarm, just the waking up to an alarm. Now, I have an alarm on my phone, and you can change it out, but the old school alarm sound, worst sound ever. But my biggest cringe, styrofoam coolers. I hate the sound of styrofoam coolers when they squeak. Makes my teeth hurt. It makes my teeth hurt. That's my number one. I hate styrofoam coolers the way they squeak.
You would have hated one of the job. Actually, I've done the same job at multiple different jobs, Justin. Is everywhere that I've worked, to-go containers have been styrofoam.
For some reason, the box, the to-go box that you just kind of pop down, they don't bother me.
So
it's the thickness of the cooler and the way it squeaks.
So, to that point, with those, we would have to take a big kitchen knife and jam it in the top of it to create a vent.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And that's what I'm saying. It's
that's a bad one. You're right. You're right.
That
Spoke
noise,
too soon.
That noise was it was definitely out there. Any others?
I'm just no, alarm. Those are the biggest. An alarm, like an old school alarm, not the bell alarm, but the that alarm. And squeaky styrofoam coolers. Oh, I hate them. I hate them so much. Ugh.
Okay, let's go move on here on the mailbag, Justin. I know you don't believe in them, but say you saw a ghost.
Yeah.
What would
probably
your
not going to
reaction
happen
be?
because they don't exist. But say that one more time.
Oh, you didn't hear me?
Yeah, I was.
Oh,
I was too busy being snarky over here.
Yeah, I was just going to let you sit in that for a minute.
Yeah.
You saw a ghost right now. What would your reaction be?
I mean, probably a good amount of shock. I'd probably
Or would
freeze.
you believe it's not real? Like, believe someone's playing a trick on you?
Yeah, he's like, well, who figured out holograms in the building, right?
You wouldn't believe it just by seeing it. You wouldn't be a see it to believe it kind of guy.
I am egomaniacal enough to where if I saw it with these own 2020 striking blue eyes, I would probably tend to believe it. I've had my mind changed multiple times on things that I thought I was 100% adamant about, and then I was like, maybe I'm a little bit different, wrong, missed on that one. I still think I'm good on ghosts. Like,
yeah, for
like,
sure.
Because here's my thing with ghosts. We learned in COVID, sadly, tragically, a lot of people die every day. Lots. Like hundreds of thousands. Like we had the COVID death calculator that was going on like NBC News every single night. And we learned that a lot of people tragically lose their life every single day. How come we only got like 4 ghosts? Shouldn't there be like way more haunted houses? Like who picks the ghosts? Who gets to be a ghost? Is there like a committee?
Interestingly
of
enough,
like I know it's a bit morbid, but like thousands of people die every day. Every day.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Justin.
It's like there's like 5 ghosts.
The fine
and they're all from the Civil War.
Weird. The fine folks at the University of South Carolina recently did a scientific consensus and polled a couple thousand Americans just to kind of get. Would it shock you if the data had said that 41% believe in ghosts and 20% said they've had an experience?
Yeah.
So that's like
I believe that they believe they've had an experience.
That's like 100, 200 people, right? I mean, I don't know if I've ever met somebody who is that, like, I've never met somebody who's like, oh, yeah, I met a ghost, Brenden. Like, like, I've never met anybody like that. Have you? Crazy tinfoil hat ghost stuff?
I know I've had people who said, like, oh, no, I've felt like a presence or I felt a haunted. And again, look, you do. It's just, I have questions. I have questions, and my questions are, why are there so few ghosts? If there are a lot of people leaving this earth and cease to be, how come, like, shouldn't every house be like a haunted house if it's not like Branden?
You would think, yeah.
My house built in 1911.
Yeah, you've had a lot of people
not
in
haunted.
the house.
Not haunted one bit. So, I don't know, maybe everybody was cool in my house. Maybe that's just how we roll.
Okay, so what's
in our little neighborhood?
What is more unrealistic to you? Because you just said you could be changed. Justin, I would be willing to bet that you could, let's just say for the sake of argument, you and your wife are out in Sun River and sitting on a patio.
Boom. That's tracks.
Looking out into the nice pine trees.
Beautiful. Lodgepole, I believe.
And Justin sees something that looks like a Bigfoot. Are you going to keep that to yourself? Or are you going to come back and go, well, I don't know.
Look, if I saw a ghost or if I saw a Bigfoot, I would
own it?
I would own it.
Okay.
I would own it.
Respect.
I don't think I'm going to see either anytime soon.
No.
I think I'm good. I think I'm in the clear. All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Tyson Alger. Thanks to super producer Brenden. 3 o'clock, Rip City Drive live from Moda Center. We've got the NBA draft tonight. We have got reaction tomorrow morning. We'll talk to you then here on 620 Rip City Radio.